My name is Ashlyn Harris. I am a retired professional soccer player. I'm a 2-time World Cup champion, and I am now a creative consultant and producer when it comes to film and sports agencies, sports firms, all the things.
I know that you have talked very honestly about what that transition would be like once you got done playing professional soccer, but I think you're landing pretty softly. How do you feel about the landing?
You know, so I played behind Hope Solo for 10 years. And I knew at the time, as long as I was, really pursuing this whole life in sports, the chances of me playing in front of her would be slim to none unless something catastrophic happened. So I started building a brand outside of sport. So it wasn't about the next 4 to 8 years of my life. It was about the next 40 to 50. So before Instagram and all of these things became a thing, I knew I looked different. I was the only one on the team absolutely covered in tattoos and looked the way I did. I started modeling and I started doing stuff with brands and influencing and doing get readies with me and doing t-shirt lines. And I was just really diversifying who I was because soccer wasn't enough for me. I had a very, very creative side. So I became one of heavily marketed players on the team based on being outspoken, being queer, being an advocate, really talking about hard topics like mental health. And it really just shaped me into leading me through doors that maybe might be different than most people who retire, who want to be a coach and want to stay in the sports world and commentate. And I wanted to do more creative work when it came to having a brand strategy to how to invest in women's sports and women's stories and entertainment.
You are very, and I'll just state the obvious, you're very striking. So when you walk in a room, people are going to be interested in you, no matter what you do. You could be like, I make cookies. Be like, what kind of cookies? Like peanut butter? Chocolate chip?
I am obsessed
you know what I mean? So you are used to getting a lot of attention. How was it playing behind Hope Solo for 10 years?
It was really great for me in a lot of ways because her as a player, she was the best. She worked really hard. She put her head down and she just fucking worked. Can I cuss on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, fine, please.
She was tough to, we spent so much time together. It was just tough personally for me because she was very shut off and not very friendly. And when it came to having a relationship outside of sport, but I knew it was professional and I respected that, just because we work together, we don't have to be friends. But yeah, it was hard. I'll say that.
That's a mature attitude. Just because we work together, it means that we don't have to be friends. There is something about women specifically. Women love to be friends with their colleagues. And when it doesn't work out that way, it's hard for us to separate our emotions because we don't know how to compartmentalize. And I'm not speaking for all women, but by and large.
Yeah.
Did you feel like she was jealous of you? Did you feel like she was mean to you? Do you feel like she didn't want to be your friend? Was it Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type situation?
I don't know. I think that she was there to do a job. I think she was there to do a job, and her priority wasn't to make sure I felt okay, truthfully. And that's okay.
I respect that.
I respect that too.
I like that a lot.
Listen, I was young, fucking show up, and gay girl that's covered in tats. She's probably like, take a seat.
Yeah.
I
watch and learn.
Yeah, watch and learn. I don't hate on it. Listen, I didn't like all my teammates. I still don't like all my teammates.
That's
and just
fair.
because, we are in this chemistry bubble where everyone thinks you have to have the best chemistry to be the best team. No, you just have to be the best and you have to put work above yourself and all the bullshit off the field. And she showed up, she did her job. She wasn't there to make sure I felt okay about myself.
I love that you say that. I remember when the Las Vegas Aces won their second championship. I think it was back-to-back. And one of the players said the reason why we were able to beat the Liberty was because they don't like each other. Do you have to truly like your teammate in order to win? I don't believe that's true.
No. I mean, think about all the things that we've heard in the past, like, Kobe Bryant.
I was the first person I thought of.
He's like, pass me the ball. I don't care how that makes you feel. You're not good enough to have the ball in your hands the last 3 seconds. I don't trust you.
I don't trust
I don't
you.
have to trust you. This isn't about me and you being friends. This is about winning. We get paid to win.
That's right.
We get paid to perform. So I see all these documentaries coming out about just this tiff and, Hope Solo this, and she's been in headlines forever being controversial or this. Listen, she showed up. She did her fucking job.
Yeah.
How she treated people, she's got to sit with that, not me.
Fair.
She won at every level.
Fair.
So what are you going to knock her? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not here to judge people outside the field. I don't know her. I don't know what she's going through. I don't know where she came from. That's not...
Why do you feel women feel like that? Men don't feel that way.
No, they don't give a
Why
shit.
do women feel like you have to get along with your colleague and or teammate in order for you to be a good person?
That's just the way our society works in general. We're told to sit back, be nice, play nice, make sure that we have this weird thing with women that you have to be likable. You have to come in the room and make sure everyone likes you. And I'm like, you don't have to like me. I'm good. I'm not here to make that, at my job, that's too much energy for me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be the best I absolutely can be. I'm going to put my team first. And if you don't fucking like me, great. Keep it pushing, but let's win.
I was told by someone who's not even really on air, but kind of adjacent to our business, still in our business of sports. He was like, your generation of girls aren't nice. They're not nice. I was like, no one cares. I was like, my generation is like, I want to make my money and go home. Mm-hmm. Why do we all have to take a bunch of cute selfies together? Why do we all have to be the hot chicks taking selfies together? That's not what I want to do. That's not my brand. I've always been different. Mm-hmm. And we get penalized for that. But you don't say that to men. You don't say, you're not nice. You're not nice. What? Did I do my job? Am I stabbing someone? Have I murdered someone? No. That's not nice. You know what I mean? I just want to do my job. To that end, I have noticed that you have... And I think personalities, I will just say this, in the interest of all fairness and biasness, I am completely biased towards you. I like the way you move. I like the way you handle yourself. I like the way that you determine who you're going to be friends with, who you're not going to be friends with. I like the way you handle your business. I just do. I can relate to someone being like, look, life has taught me a few things. And the one thing I know that I can depend on time and time again is myself. Mm-hmm. And you carry yourself in that manner. And I understand that deeply in my core. It is often misconstrued by other people, though, as standoffish, not friendly, selfish, all the things. Selfish gets a bad rap, though. I don't mind selfish. But it can be labeled as not a positive. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel at your core? Because you know who you are. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel at your core?
I think if I really cared what other people thought of me, I probably wouldn't be sitting on this couch with you. Mm. I think as someone who grew up in the public eye, who has been constantly under some type of scrutiny or this or that, you just get to a point where, I know when I lay my head down at night, am I showing up as a human? Am I a good mom? Am I a good partner? Am I a good daughter? Am I all of these things? You get to an age where you just stop giving a fuck what other people think of you because you can't change it anyways.
Can't change it.
So I'm not going to carry, and a lot of it is projected trauma, when I'm learning very much so right now, especially in therapy, especially after the last year, is the projection that people have based on their own scars. It's not my burden to carry. I'm good with the decisions I've made. Mm-hmm. Do I always get it right? No. But I continue to wake up to choose to be excellent in everything I do. Yeah. And that is the way I lead my life, is I put my ego aside. I'm a servant. I love to serve other people. However, I've had to learn the balance of being an athlete has taught me to suffer. I have been made into a machine. So my ability to sit and suffer and minimize what my wants and needs, because that's what made me a team player. That's what made me good at my job. So I'm learning this balance and understanding that I can't always focus on what people think. Not everyone's going to like me, and I'm okay with that. Do I like myself?
Yeah.
That's what's most
Yeah.
important.
Did you do anything?
And a year ago I didn't.
Mm.
I didn't. And sometimes you have to do really hard and brave things that torch, your reputation or torch all of these things, which I have walked through. And I'm okay. I'm okay because no matter how many people now have eyes and access into saying whatever they want about me, I have to learn it doesn't penetrate, because if I'm secure and confident and I love myself, it really doesn't fucking matter what people think of me.
What happened a year ago?
I decided to leave my marriage after almost 4 years and a decade of being together.
How hard was that?
It's the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. And I think people miss that. People think only one person was in pain, or people think you have to choose a side, that you have to really punish this person because the idea you had through social media didn't manage your expectations. However, you haven't lived my experience. That is one thing I'm not willing to compromise after I've done so for so long, is live my life for other people through this lens of social media. I can't do it anymore. It destroys you. It destroys you, and you get so caught up in it that you think it's reality. It's not. It's really not. And I just got to a point where I didn't recognize the person I looked at in the mirror, and I hated that person.
Why?
I just was so broken. I was so damaged. I was so broken. And I wanted someone to love me so bad. I caved every bit of who I was inside to try to be more lovable, to be enough. I just wanted to be enough. I wanted to walk. I wanted to be able to walk through the door and someone miss me, want me, need me in a way that wasn't so business, that wasn't so on the field. Everyone thought it was this way, but at home I felt like I was living with a stranger. And I just had to take my power back. And unfortunately, people were hurt in that process. And I want to make room for both, because it's not easy. Everyone has an experience. However, only one experience played out in the media, which is quite difficult.
You said something that I think is very fair and everybody can relate. The feeling of wanting to be loved and the feeling of wanting to be needed, and belonging and feeling enough. There is not one person on this entire planet that can't relate to that feeling of wanting that or needing that. You get married, and are you happy right away when you get married?
I was told by a lot of people and society in general that there's no such thing as a perfect human. Okay. There's no perfect relationship. So
That's
I
fair.
said, okay, I love this human so much. I want to make this work. And even though I'm sacrificing what makes me happy inside and seen, this is for the greater good, because this is compromise. This is what relationships are. And I think when you get, into the relationship, and then by convenience of being on the same team, traveling all the time together, someone understanding your experience, and then it all ending, and no longer have that tie that roots you in your core.
Oh.
And you take the fucking blinders off. And now we're in real life situations.
Okay.
And I don't have that sense of connection, understanding. I'm in the real world. I'm working a real job. I want to come through the door and my wife be like, I love you. I miss you. I see you. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's, sleeping next to someone doesn't make a marriage.
No. You be roommates.
Yeah. To me, I constantly wanted more, and I constantly wanted the feeling of being loved the same way I loved.
Yeah.
And I just dropped that because I thought that's what I had to do to make the relationship work. until I no longer knew who I was anymore. And it's like
Yeah.
you you kind of go through this process of wanting something so bad you're willing to sacrifice it all. But at what cost?
Yeah, at what cost? Your mental, whomever's mental, like being in an environment that doesn't make you happy. I hope I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm just going to mirror back what I think I heard you say. Once you stop playing, once you all stop having something in common, you had nothing in common. That's deep.
It's the reality.
It's like when kids leave the nest and it's an empty nest, and parents have to decide that they have to talk to each other and they don't have the kids in common anymore. Something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that you're hearing me completely correctly. I think she loved the game so much, and all she knew was how to sacrifice her life for the game. Then when you add children, which is a whole different layer, I just felt like I wasn't a priority. I didn't feel that, like, I didn't feel that sense of connection, whether emotional or physical. It was soccer, job, kids, and then somewhere down the line, it was like, okay, but like,
What about me?
what about me?
People function like that. I'd be hard pressed to find couples currently, male, female, 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 male, male, who have kids and a life and everything else matters but their partner. Their partner is the last person that they pay attention to. That's every day. I can tell I have girlfriends who tell me that all the time about their lives. They're like, I don't even know what's going on. I have a roommate. I'm functioning on the kids.
The intimacy stops, which, is a
and
real
you
thing.
wanted it. And by the way, you deserve it.
I am anyone who knows me, I am so touchy-feely. The second I come
you're
through this door,
loving. Hey, I
I'm
miss you.
hugging,
Hey,
I
hug,
love you,
sweet.
I see you.
Yeah.
But, like, you can only give so much until you really have nothing left, and you're a shell of a human. I became very, very good at disassociating, and that's what my therapist knew right away. It was my ability to sit and suffer, my ability to disassociate, and my ability to serve other people before my own wants and needs, which I genuinely think probably kept me in that marriage for as long as it did. And then I started trying all these things. Let's do an open marriage. And I'm like, that's just not even me, dude.
Yeah.
Like a year before we officially called it quits, that was like my last attempt of, if I'm not getting what I want and we want to keep this together, which is also the strains the public eye places on you, you feel like you can't make the brave and hard decisions because you know the impact and wave that will come. And that was my biggest fear.
And imagine people staying in marriages, being unhappy, and they don't have the public eye. I hear it all the time. You're worried about the judgment of your friends and your family. Could you imagine with the weight of the world looking at you too? I could even. Yes, yes,
yeah,
you can.
I lived it. I can absolutely. It is the closest and I've lived through some shit, and we are very open about our past. I've lived some really hard shit. That was the first time I was like looking over the edge.
Yeah.
It was the first time I was like, someone needs to take this 9mm and get it the fuck away from me.
Aww.
Like I was at probably the lowest. I was like, honestly, I was like, I can't survive this.
I don't love that for you.
I was like, and meanwhile, I was being torched while I was trying to raise 2 kids and go through this process and make sure that my storm didn't become theirs. So it was hard. It was really, and I don't think people get.
No, they don't even think you're human. They don't even know who you are. They're writing and talking about you.
Attack.
Why do you think you were vilified in the breakup?
I think because to everyone else, I was always taught to not air your dirty laundry to your friends, to anyone. So I kept it very quiet about, my closest friends knew, right? Like people knew, you stop looking the same, and you stop
Mm.
smiling, and you stop carrying yourself with the same intention you do when you're light and you're at peace.
Mhm.
And there was just I didn't like the person I was. I didn't like who I was as a teammate. I was angry
Mhm.
because I felt like I couldn't get out. And I felt like it was my out, like sport became my outlet to get that pain out, and I felt like I couldn't tell anyone because we were teammates. And so much of our situation was so webbed, and it was like a really hard, painful process that you do alone. You sit in silence alone because I didn't want to disrespect her by talking about it in the locker room, or, think
Mm. Yeah,
about
of course.
conversation like
Yeah,
in locker room.
of
That's like the
course.
safest
Of
place.
course, yeah. You're like,
And
but you didn't want to do
I
that because
couldn't.
you respected her and
I
you
couldn't.
couldn't really. It wasn't, it wasn't
And
appropriate.
it's not an easy conversation to have with anyone, to carry the shame of not feeling loved and wanted. It's like I didn't I felt so embarrassed, and I felt so much shame that I didn't know how to tell people that, like, oh, my wife doesn't want to touch me, or doesn't want to be intimate, or doesn't want this and that. It's like, how do you even fucking start that conversation? That is uncomfortable.
Would she disagree with your assessment of the relationship? Would she say that's not true? I did want to touch her. I did want to be with her. I don't
Well,
know.
no, she can't say that because we weren't intimate the entire part of our marriage. So that's you. I mean, facts are
Oh,
just the facts. I mean, it is what
wow.
it is, and it's not. You have these conversations, and this isn't working for me. This
Yeah,
feels hard, and
yeah.
after week, month after month, year after year, you're just like, there's nothing left to say. And then you slowly, if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. We just, yeah, I became a stranger, not only within myself, but within my relationship. And then the worst thing that, you can do is start pushing that on your young children, because
Yeah,
that's where you find that sense of worth.
yeah.
That's where you find that sense of need. And I didn't want to do that to my kids. I don't want to project my shame and insecurity in my marriage on them because I wasn't getting what I needed out of it. I had to do the hard thing.
You had to do the hard thing.
And, it's
I don't
like,
think anybody wants to go through a divorce. I don't think anybody wants to deal with that drama. I don't think anybody signs up for that pain.
I loved her so much.
Yeah.
Like, I was willing to sacrifice it all, and it cost me everything. I lost myself. I lost my self-worth, a sense of who I am. Like, I was damaged. And you get to a point, I remember once I had the hard conversation with one of my friends. Once I told the truth, I couldn't stop telling it. And then I fucking ran. Because I knew once I said it and once I put it out there, there was no taking it back. And that's when I knew it was done. And, we had all these conversations about waiting till after the season and coming out with the joint statement. And it literally became life or death
Mm,
for me.
mm-hmm.
And that's when I knew if I wanted to be the parent for those children, I still had to figure out a life worth living.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not in a good place. I was unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that.
Mm.
Once it gets that dark, there's no playbook to leaving something. There's no right way. I mean, I dropped the rope and I ran.
Yeah.
Oof, I ran, and there's just no going back.
What's the biggest misconception, the biggest lie, the misinformation about the breakup that bothers you to this day?
That I'm constantly pegged as a cheater, which that is so far from the truth. And she knows it. And it torched me. And I think and then you know exactly who I am. She was in so much pain, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And I want to make room for her experience.
Yeah.
I really thought she never thought I would leave.
Wow.
I just don't think I don't think she ever took me seriously.
She just thought you'd be there no matter what?
Even when I asked her, she was my first phone call. When I got the lawyer, she was totally fine. Thanks for the heads up on the mediator. Send
Wow.
me the paperwork.
Wow.
I called her right after. Because we were already moved out, which a lot of people don't know that. People think, oh, I just up and left. But I was living separately than her through the summer. And I had my own apartment, and people were starting to recognize me. So I was like, we have to come out with a joint statement. Like, people know I live here. But I think once it all blew up and it affected her last season, she was pissed.
Oh.
And she was angry.
Okay.
And that's when, and rightfully so. Like, there are things that if I could have this perfect playbook ending where it just was never going to be that.
I don't know any breakup that's clean.
It was never going to be that. I remember calling her saying, hey, the lawyer thinks, like, if we jointly file, it won't be such an issue. Because the tabloids were calling our agents. They knew we got rid of the dogs. There was all these things going on that people were, like, catching wind of. So, people were reaching out to their agent. My agent, her agent at the time were the same. Like, hey, this is what we're figuring out. Like, do you have any statements? So I kept being like, we have to get ahead of this. We have to say something. And, the whole plan was to hold off until the end of the season. And I remember calling and saying, you want to jointly file. Like, this is going to be what's best. And she said, no, you'll come crawling back in 6 months. And I filed. And then all of a sudden she was blindsided by it. And I'm like, I gave you the opportunity. And you were like, I just don't think she ever believed it. So I'm not taking anything away from her experience, but there's always 2 sides to a story.
Yeah. 3.
Yeah.
Total.
And
4 or
I
5,
want to
6.
make space and room for her pain because that matters to me and her healing process.
Yeah.
And I understand that she was, listen, I'm not an idiot. For someone to not want to be intimate with me for that long, I must not be, you must not be happy either.
Something's going on.
But every time in therapy, I would ask, what is it? And sometimes I'd be met by, we're together too much. I don't miss you. I don't this. But those are things I can't correct or fix to grow together.
Yeah. We're on the same team. I can't help that.
This is the choice we made. We're raising kids. I feel like I was damned if I do, damned if I don't.
How have you, because I met you at the end of things, and I say this for anybody listening, watching, whatever. I purposely don't Google people's drama because I've had my own. So I hate when people Google me and assume they know me. But when I met you, I just thought, oh, wow, she's so loving, so sweet, so kind, so beautiful, so dressed nice. All the things that I love, right? Very vain, nothing no substance to what I was saying, just because I just am being silly. But what I did recognize right away was how kind you were, how warm you are, how giving you were. You didn't know me. You could have been very standoffish. And I felt, to me, that spoke to who you were at your core. I think that I would have been more guarded if I were you. Meaning, meeting new people, because you were in the tabloids and still are. I think I would have been more guarded. You were very gracious. And that has probably a lot to do with what I say, your seeing sense. You can see people. You can just see them at their core. Usually people who've been through a lot understand and can identify all of those things. So here you are. I think you guys are so in love, you and Sophia. I love her. And I see you guys interacting and I think, she's happy. Who doesn't want this?
A lot of people.
I'm like, who cares? And I know that I am probably simplifying it, but do we have to get caught up in the dates and the times and the exact moments when someone is happy? Shouldn't we want 2 people to be happy?
Yeah, and this is because, during this process, I was very much so speaking to my therapist. And even for me, I was like, I am damaged. I am not ready for anything remotely. I just wanted to go out and rage.
Yeah.
I did. And I had these conversations with my agency because I was worried. I was like, no one knows what has happened. No one knows that this is what it is. If I go out and start dating around, like, people are going to, like, what do? I couldn't hide anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking pretend. I've been pretending for years.
Yeah.
Now you want me to keep pretending, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I don't want to feel bad about that, but at the expense of opening my life up to receive the type of love I always imagined, because of who that was, who is heavily in the entertainment space.
Yeah. Yeah.
It blew everything wide open. It really did. That's, someone who never was with women, never was in a relationship with, like, and then all of a sudden we went on, like, I think we were 2 weeks. I think when everything went public in October, we had gone on our first date 2 weeks before that. So all of these things are going on, and, rightfully so. Sophia's used to this.
Yeah. You're like, what
I
is
get this
world?
text message. She's like, hey, you got to get on this call. So I call my agent. I'm fucking panicked. I'm trying to, like, figure this out. And there were, like, People magazine's calling, and they're taking all these rumors and running with them unless we say something, and this and that. And I was always the one. I was like, I'm not saying shit. I don't know anyone anything. I'm not saying anything to tabloids. I'm not saying anything to anyone, any journalist. I'm not doing any podcasts. I am sitting in my integrity because I don't want to say something I can't take back.
Okay.
Because I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, at that time, I'm like, how on earth am I going to sit down and tell my truth when I am in shambles? I'd rather just sit in my integrity. However the media wants to play this, they're going to play it. I mean, they're a beast. They've already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just was like the whole situation was so escalated more than it should have been. And it was just so innocent and so pure and so unexpected in a lot of ways. And even through the fire, it was almost like the universe pushed us closer together.
Yeah.
Because we had no choice. We started blowing up.
Yeah.
And we were in this new found space. Together, because I was literally like, oh, I thought you were straight. And she goes, oh, I thought you were happy. And I was like, and you know her.
Yes.
Like, she's fiery.
That's not funny,
no,
but she's like, oh, I thought you were happy. Why are you calling me out?
Yeah.
Okay.
She spits it right back.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a firecracker. But
yeah.
I told my therapist, I'm like, I am in the worst season of my life. I am in the worst version. I am the worst version of myself. And still, like, you know me, I am this soft because of the trauma I have faced.
And you could be so hard.
I could be so hard. And this was what drove Sophia mad. She was like, just tell your truth. Just, she's about justice.
Yeah.
She fights for her truth and her people.
She
and
does.
I just was like, I have 2 young children.
Yeah.
You know what my fight is? Protecting and showing up for them and giving them the best version of myself.
You still have to have a relationship with the mother.
Yeah. There's just no part of me that felt like I had to come back and say something or, really show the public all the truth and the receipts and the text. I loved her.
Yeah.
I still love her. Yeah. She is the mother of my children. That love will never go away. Mm. And I would never try to torch her reputation, torch her ability to provide for herself and the children. Like, that's not who I am. And no matter how painful this process has been, and trust me, there are moments when I'm like, I just want to fucking rip my hair out. Mm-hmm. I know I stand in my integrity. Mm-hmm. It will not make me feel better by hurting her. Like, I want her to be happy. I want nothing but the best for her. I care about her, genuinely care about her. There is a reason we decided to have children together. There's a reason we were together for a decade. Some relationships just don't work, and that's okay. That's okay.
By the way, as simple as that said, it's so complicated. Simple as it said, it's so complicated. Yeah. It just didn't work. And there are so many questions as to why. But once you make peace with the fact that it didn't work, it just didn't work. I don't know what I have to put together to make you understand that. But what I'm hearing is that it didn't matter if it was Sophia. It could have been anyone who came along and lit your fire and made you feel like you were getting what you had been missing. And it could have been true love with the person who connected with your spirit. It just happened to be Sophia. You were already out the door. You were already checked out in terms of, I'm just walking through life.
Oh God, yeah.
It wasn't like you were like, I'm looking for someone to cheat with. I'm looking for a new person to be with.
I would have done that a long time ago.
Yeah. It sounds like you found your person.
Well, through trauma, I think your memory, I don't have much memory. What I remember so beautifully is, like, I just have this visual of laying in the trenches because I was being burnt alive. I was in the trenches. And she just came and laid right next to me.
Oh, so beautiful.
She did. She just came in and was like, if you're going to burn, I'm going to fucking sit right here with you in the dark. And when you're ready to get up, we're going to walk to the light. Like, she was so patient and so kind. I'll never forget when there was a Self magazine cover that came out, and Allie had things to say that are not my truth, but I'm not going to take away her truth.
Sure.
Just not mine.
Sure.
And it just broke me. It broke me because you know what? The thing that broke me the most is I had an emergency therapy session, and I just was like, her experience is just so false and further from mine. And my therapist was so wonderful. And they said, this is her experience and you can't change that. She's allowed to grieve this way. If this is her truth, this is her truth. But if she would have saw you and your side, you wouldn't even be in the position you are. Stop expecting the change. Stop expecting to be heard. Stop expecting to be seen and be met with that.
Yeah.
That is literally the single-handed reason why you're not together anymore. And it was, I'm that so person. True. I always want to see the best, and I always want to see it through.
Yeah.
And even at the expense of my happiness. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's when I really was like, we're just going to have two versions of this, which are very different. Which is fine. And she's going to have to be okay with my version, and I'm going to have to be okay with hers. But the whole point is we never spoke the same language, which is what got us here in the first place.
You guys never saw it the same. Mm-hmm. You guys were communicating differently all the time.
And she said that in therapy. She was like, I don't know, some version of like, I like was listening. I just didn't hear you.
Oof. And that's
something like that.
Isn't that the case for all relationships when they break up?
Yeah. But, it's also like, it's a hard lifestyle that we live.
You do.
And we are, I said this about retirement. People talk about retirement. I felt like, I retired at 37. I felt like for probably 30 years, someone was chasing me.
What does that mean?
I worked so hard because I always knew I had a target on my back. And I always knew people were chomping at my heels wanting to take my position. So I did the work when no one was looking. I never cut corners. But it was this life I was constantly chasing because I didn't want someone to pass me. I didn't want someone to be better than me. I didn't want someone to be working harder than I was. So I lived this life of being chased for a long time, and I was tired.
Yeah.
Like, I was tired.
Have you ever, and you have, so I'm asking you this knowing the answer. When you got with Sophia and you guys were together, were you able to exhale, sleep better, feel better, move better?
Yeah.
What felt easier when you were with her?
I felt safe for the first time in probably a decade.
You felt safe?
I felt safe. Yeah. There was something about her that made me feel safe and seen. And that was even like just as friends at the beginning.
Yeah.
She was just a kind, safe heart. And
she is.
Someone I could talk to.
She's all of those things.
And the best part is she introduced me to this, group of women. And it was like, I couldn't tell my teammates or my
Mm-hmm.
colleagues
Mm-hmm.
anything. At the time I was the creative consultant for Gotham, and my agent called me and said they want you to stop coming to games because it's distracting.
How?
And I just was like, wow, I can't see my friends because they feel the need to choose. I can't go to my job because, I worked so hard to build the future of that club. And the second anything, and the club knew from the beginning. They were the one helping us draw out statements. I was very open and honest. This is what's coming. I don't want you guys to be blindsided, so you're ready for it. Like, everyone knew in that club. And then they were like, stop coming.
How many did you lose friends you were surprised that you lost?
I lost
Meaning,
everything besides my worth. Like, I lost everything. I lost friends. I lost jobs. I lost money. I lost my marriage. I walked out of my home with trash bags. Like, I lost everything. But it would have been that, or it would have been a funeral. The teeter was so real. It was bad. And how much is one person willing to flirt with fire? I mean, I'm lucky to be sitting here, and that's not a this or that, or like, it just was the realness and the magnitude and the effect it had on me.
I hate that for you.
But I'm here, and this is life. But and I said this to Soph not long ago, because she's always like, why don't you just say your truth? Like, you're too kind. My trauma has made me this gentle.
I agree. I understand that.
Mm-hmm. And what she chooses to do with it is up to her. Because I will not change. This won't make me hard. It will make space for people struggling who I have no idea what they've walked.
I understand. I think everything that you're saying in terms of your trauma making you this gentle is really beautiful, because there's so much, especially in today's world, there's so much for us to be mad at, so many things for us to be angry and upset about. And I think that when I see you for the win, thank you for the tissue. Thank you. I think that I am encouraged by your behavior. I'm encouraged. I'm glad you're so sweet. It makes me feel like there's a world where no matter how shitty things are, especially now, there are still ways to find joy and to find peace and to find gentleness. And that's what you consistently display. But I think why I'm kind of emotional is because I think no matter how kind and sweet you are, I think it hurts you that people cut you off.
Yeah.
And they weren't your friend.
Yeah.
And they've judged you.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know who you are. And that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. I know. It hurts.
Yeah. It is. But I have a choice every day how I choose to show up in a world that's so dark. I have a choice. And as hard as this has been, and as much pain as, like, it's been for her, my ex-wife.
Yeah, because she's in pain.
She's in pain.
She's in pain too. She might display it differently. She might tell people, express it differently, but she's in pain too.
Yeah. But it doesn't change like the decade I was with her and the life I built with her, we built, and I always will have love for her.
Of
and
course.
that won't change no
And you
matter
have
what.
babies together.
Yeah, no matter what is said or, you know, I can take it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make it easy,
Shit.
but I can take it, and this is living. It's understanding that things aren't always perfect and life is tough. It's so tough. But this is the realness of living in a cancel culture, you know?
So you officially feel as if you were canceled?
Not that I was officially canceled. I just think that my friends didn't want to be seen with me because I was too big of a liability. Like,
Because you, do you see how silly this sounds to me? Because you found love with someone else, you were a liability? How is that even possible in today's America?
and anyone who has spent like 5 to 10 minutes and can see the joy in which I bring when I am not, Cari, I am not the same person I was.
No, I've only known you after.
Yeah. So it's like, I have to reintroduce myself to a lot of people because that damaged, broken puppy that was just following and I'm not her.
Yeah.
I'm not her.
And they have to allow you to evolve.
Yeah.
They have to allow you to be someone new.
The hardest part for me too, especially when it comes to my friends and my teammates, is I know so much.
Yeah.
Damn, I know so much.
It
And how
sucks taking the high
convenient.
road, right?
It's
It sucks
exhausting.
taking the high road. I can put your shit in the news.
Yeah.
But I won't.
It's really interesting
yeah.
to know.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Ooh, to know the things I know.
What you're saying.
And God, people were so quick to choose a side. I'm like, okay.
I still have
Okay.
receipts, but I'm gonna leave that here. I totally can relate to that.
Yeah.
I totally know what you're saying. You talked about how you lost a lot. This transition, I know that you're working. You have a lot of opportunities, but there still will be more. Do you see the beautiful alchemy in it all? Maybe it was everything had to burn down so I can rise again. And it could be true and pure. Everything that you work on, everything that you touch, all of the relationships that you make have to be authentic. And if they're not, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? You're introducing yourself to new people every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making new relationships and working on new things. And that is you at your highest self, maybe. Maybe that's what you feel.
Well, it has allowed me to, I think so. And you've said this before when you were in sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just pegged you as this like commentator in sports, but there was so much more to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more you wanted to do and check off, and how you wanted to show up in the space and not just be grouped into this one type thing. I think I knew I was special. Mm-hmm. I've always known I'm special. Soccer was never, we spoke about this the other day. Soccer was my way out.
Mm-hmm.
It was my way to provide a better life for myself. So I had a different vision of what it looked like. I didn't necessarily do it because I loved it. Mm-hmm. It just was my fucking job. That was it, right? Yep. So I knew once life changed for me, I'd be okay, because it wasn't, my happiness wasn't correlated to how successful I was as a soccer player. Oh, was I getting my money? Yeah. Sure. Was I getting a lot of it? Yeah. Sure. And then it was like, I'm ready to bounce. And now it's opened where otherwise, I was the creative, director of Gotham, and I was doing all these things, and I was going to start this fashion line. I was doing all these, in my mind, I really wanted to show how I could do things differently than the coach or the commentator. And now I'm in this space where I'm in film. Mm-hmm. I'm in docs. And I'm consulting and creatively producing things now that I never thought I could imagine I would be sitting in such a privileged space like Hello Sunshine, where bosses are reaching out being like, God, you're just so good at this and we love
You are.
having you here. And I walked into this like, oh, I'm not deserving of it. Right? Because this is the mentality we carry with us. I thought I was one-dimensional and sports was my thing and blah, blah, blah. It's all the things you tell yourself that's just so fucking far from the truth. And I walked in there and I was like, whoa, this is like a sense of belonging and worth. I'm good at this. Like, I'm actually good at it and I could do this.
Yes.
And it's not even because I've met with so many people in the space who are directors, who are filming, are doing sports docs, and they were like, why the fuck do you want to be behind the camera? We need you in front of it.
Yeah. You can do both.
Yeah. And now I'm like, yeah, I can do both.
You could do both.
Yeah. And, starting this new show with iHeart and being a part of Deep Blue and bringing money into women's sports and doing it strategically and doing it creatively and doing it different. I'm working all these jobs and I'm like, holy shit, how do I even keep up? And I'm a parent. But I love it. I love working this much.
You're creating a dynasty.
I love creating. And it's also, I live life through storytelling.
You do.
So to be able to work with a Hello Sunshine, to tell the stories of women in sports by women, women who have lived it, who've experienced it, I just get it. I come with a different, unique perspective.
Totally.
But I'm also given the platform and leverage to run with it. Like we talked about this the other day of women pulling back their egos.
Yep.
And allowing other people to come in and shine. My bosses and my executives and my teams literally will come in and say, you take this meeting.
You're like, wait.
And I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I'm going to do it.
Just take the meeting. Are you sure? Okay, yeah.
Are you sure you want me? And to be able to do it and nail it and have your boss be like, well done, you did a great job. I love working with you. We love your perspective. We love your passion. We love your insight. I always feel like
it's your time to be celebrated.
It's time.
It's your time to be celebrated. It's your time to be, and I don't want to say validated, but it's your time to know that everything that you have done was for this moment. The good and the bad, especially the bad. You're brave. You are brave.
Because
people are sitting.
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice, but some people may not have a choice and still sit in misery and refuse to just deal with all the shit that comes with being brave. That's why it's called Brave. You have a new podcast. Tell me Wide Open, which I love the title. Because you are so open. I mean, you're completely naked. You and I both have titles that speak to what we want to put out in the world. Why did you decide Wide Open in terms of the title? And what do you want to do with your podcast?
So I came up with the name, which is the best part of working with iHeart is they're giving me so much creative control, which is a lot of the reason why I'm doing it. I think for so long I've been told to act and say and be a certain way. And I want to just strip all those layers. And for me, Wide Open is, clearly everyone in sports knows Wide Open. It's really just seizing the opportunity to separate yourself and attack whatever you're doing, really going after this moment in sport of separating yourself from the pack and then you've got to execute, right? So for me, I've been wide open my whole life. I'm what you see is what you get. And I have a unique ability, which is such a privilege, but it's also a responsibility. I see people. And whether I see you for 3 minutes or an hour or 50, it doesn't even matter. I want to make space for people's experience. And in this world, especially the climate we're living in right now, it's so dark. And we have to show up for each other because people need each other. Like, this is literally the first time we've had this conversation 100 times, and it's the first time you and I are like really, the emotion is really coming through. And I think the ability to feel safe enough
to share.
Yeah. I think you and I have a unique opportunity to allow people to have space to really show up as themselves, to be vulnerable, to be open, to be all of these things we're told not to be because it's a sign of weakness.
No, and it's not.
I'm just taking my narrative back. I'm taking my power back. I'm tired of the media destroying us and you know, really putting people against each other. And I want to softly, respectfully do the right thing by telling people stories and telling stories that matter and being vulnerable and knowing that is what makes life so special. And I think we've gotten away from that. And that's why I told iHeart, I was like, I want my interviews to be in person. I want to feel the space and connection.
Correct.
I want someone to be like, oh, I am held in this moment in a way maybe I never have. Like, even Brooke, you know, I had Brooke on my show and she was like, this is the first time I'm telling this story.
Yeah, because she feels you.
Yeah. But she feels safe. And she feels seen.
Yep.
And I think this is a part of my healing journey too. Yeah. It really is. It's like I need to be able to feel safe enough to have these conversations because it makes me who I am. And I'm not ashamed of it.
And you're healing other people in the process.
Yeah. And that's really what we do. That's life.
2 years removed from the game, and you have literally turned everything upside down and started from scratch. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
The story is so encouraging. It is inspirational in the sense that in the darkest moments, if you find that courage, life will reward you. Life will reward you. And it's doing that. I don't know if you feel that. I can see it. And I know the tabloids annoy you. We'll deal with all that. But in the real space for the people who matter, who make the decisions, who understand you and see you, you'll keep working. You'll keep getting more opportunities. You'll keep building your business because the people who matter see you and you see them. What a gift.
I'm just, that's the best thing I can do is show up and just be exactly who I am.
I love you so much.
I love you too. Thanks for having me on. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you. I'm sorry I made you cry.
That's
Can
okay.
we cut? Because we were just one big boo-hooing bunch of gals.
Gals.
We're just boo-hooing.
You're the best.